When we think of Hollywood legends, certain names rise above the rest. Names that don't just define an era, they transcend it. Among them, two stars shine with contrasting brilliance. Audrey Hepburn, the graceful icon of poise and innocence, and Marlon Brando, the brooding rebel who redefined masculinity on screen. Though their styles couldn't be more different, Audrey and Marlon stood at the heart of a Hollywood in transition. She became the epitome of class and charm, while he shattered the image of the traditional leading man with raw intensity. Together, they tell the story of a golden era breaking into modernity. Let's begin with Audrey Hepburn. Born in 1929 in Brussels, Belgium, Audrey's early life was anything but glamorous. She grew up during World War II, witnessing its horrors firsthand. These experiences shaped her into the quiet, strong woman who would later captivate the world. She trained in ballet, hoping to become a dancer. But fate had other plans. After some modeling and stage work, Audrey caught the eye of the French author Colette, who insisted she star in the Broadway adaptation of Gigi. Her performance charmed critics and caught the attention of Hollywood. In 1953, Audrey Hepburn made her film debut in Roman Holiday, opposite Gregory Peck. It was a breakout role, and she became an overnight sensation. Her portrayal of a sheltered princess exploring Rome was heartfelt, genuine, and utterly disarming. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress, and a new kind of star was born. Audrey wasn't like the glamorous bombshells of the era. She was delicate, refined, with an elegance that felt effortless. In an age dominated by curves and sultriness, she was all grace and subtlety. And yet, she was never fragile. Her strength came from within, quiet, resilient, enduring. She went on to star in a string of unforgettable films: Sabrina, Funny Face, The Nun Story, and of course, Breakfast at Tiffany's. As Holly Golightly, she became the face of sophisticated. Audrey wasn't like the glamorous bombshells of the era. She was delicate, refined, with an elegance that felt effortless. In an age dominated by curves and sultriness, she was all grace and subtlety. And yet, she was never fragile. Her strength came from within, quiet, resilient, enduring. She went on to star in a string of unforgettable films: Sabrina, Funny Face, The Nun Story, and of course, Breakfast at Tiffany's. As Holly Golightly, she became the face of sophisticated mischief. The little black dress, the long cigarette holder, the wistful smile, all became cultural touchstones. Audrey wasn't just a style icon. She was a deeply emotional actress. In The Nun Story, she gave one of her most powerful performances, raw, restrained, and heartbreaking. She didn't have to shout to be heard. Her presence spoke volumes. But beyond the screen, Audrey's life was filled with meaning. After stepping back from acting in the late 60s, she dedicated herself to humanitarian work. As a goodwill ambassador for UNICEF, she traveled the world advocating for children. She visited war zones, famine-stricken regions, and refugee camps, not as a celebrity, but as someone who had once lived through war herself. Audrey Hepburn passed away in 1993, but her legacy endures. Not just in the film she left behind, but in the values she embodied: kindness, dignity, compassion. Now, let's turn to Marlon Brando, a man whose very name evokes intensity, rebellion, and brilliance. Born in Omaha, Nebraska, in 1924, Brando had a turbulent childhood. His father was cold and domineering, and his mother was an alcoholic. But it was this emotional complexity that would later feed into his acting, a rawness that couldn't be faked. Brando trained at the Actors Studio in New York, studying under Stella Adler and embracing the method acting technique. He didn't just play roles, he became them. He brought a new kind of realism to the screen, one that shook Hollywood to its core. In 1951, Brando starred as Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire. It was a performance unlike anything audiences had seen before. He was animalistic, explosive, unpredictable. The line "Stella" shouted into the night became legendary. Brando didn't act like a movie star. He acted like a human being, messy and flawed. He followed with a string of powerful roles: Viva Zapata, Julius Caesar, and On the Waterfront. As dock worker Terry Malloy, he delivered the immortal line, "I could have been a contender." It wasn't just dialogue, it was heartbreak. Brando didn't fit into the clean-cut image Hollywood tried to maintain. He was moody, rebellious, and unafraid to challenge authority. He clashed with directors, refused studio demands, and made unpredictable career choices. But he remained magnetic. In the 60s, his career faltered. But then came The Godfather in 1972. As Don Vito Corleone, Brando delivered one of the most iconic performances in film history. He wasn't loud or flashy. He was quiet, deliberate, chilling. He made you lean in to listen. It was a masterclass in transformation. He won his second Oscar for the role, but in typical Brando fashion, he declined it. He sent a Native American activist, Sachin Littlefeather, in his place to protest Hollywood's treatment of indigenous people. It was controversial, bold, and deeply Brando. In Last Tango in Paris, Apocalypse Now, and later films like The Score, Brando continued to challenge expectations. He wasn't always easy to work with, but he never stopped taking risks. Off-screen, Brando's life was filled with contradictions. He was fiercely private, yet provocatively outspoken. He supported civil rights, opposed war, and used his fame as a platform for social issue. Despite his flaws, or perhaps because of them, Brando remains a fascinating figure. He redefined screen acting, broke the mold of the leading man, and inspired generations of actors to come. So, what happens when we place Audrey Hepburn and Marlon Brando side by side? They were never co-stars. They belonged to different cinematic worlds. She the embodiment of grace, he the face of rage and realism. Yet both represented a shift in Hollywood storytelling, a move toward vulnerability, honesty, and human complexity. Audrey gave us heroines who could be stylish and soulful. Brando gave us men who were sensitive, conflicted, and dangerously alive. Together, they reshaped gender expectations on screen. Where Audrey brought beauty with substance, Brando brought violence with vulnerability. She was quiet power. He was loud pain. And both were unforgettable. Their influence can be seen everywhere. Every young actress who plays smart over sexy, who chooses strength over seduction, walks in Audrey's footsteps. Every actor who plays broken instead of perfect, who dares to be ugly, follows Brando's lead. They also remind us of what stardom used to mean. Not just being famous, but being meaningful. Using art to express something deeper. Not chasing celebrity, but chasing truth. Audrey once said, "The best thing to hold on to in life is each other." Brando once said, "An actor is at most a poet and at least an entertainer." These words reflect their souls. One full of warmth, the other full of fire. Their personal lives, too, tell a story. Audrey married twice, had 2 sons, and found peace in her later years through service and family. Brando had a tumultuous personal life, multiple relationships, many children, and public family tragedies. But both try to find meaning beyond the camera. There's a fascinating what-if to consider. What if Audrey and Brando had starred together? Imagine the chemistry, his intensity, her gentleness, his raw emotion, her quiet resolve. It could have been electric, but perhaps their very distance, stylistic, emotional, and professional, is what makes them so fascinating as a pair in contrast. They weren't just actors, they were symbols. Audrey of elegance, of compassion, of beauty with brains. Brando of revolution, of honesty, of masculine complexity. In their own ways, they told us it was okay to feel deeply, openly, even painfully. As we look back on the golden age of Hollywood, it's tempting to romanticize it. The glamour, the stars, the magic. But the truth is, it was a complicated time, filled with both brilliance and control, art and exploitation. Audrey Hepburn and Marlon Brando were bright stars within that system, yet also outside of it. Audrey resisted the machine through grace and distance. Brando smashed it with protest and fire. Today, their legacies live on, not just in fashion or in acting technique, but in spirit. In every performer who tries to bring something real to the screen. In every storyteller who seeks to move us rather than distract us. They remind us that cinema, at its best, is not just entertainment. It's emotion, it's connection, it's transformation. So when we watch Breakfast at Tiffany's and see Audrey's wistful eyes searching for love, or when we watch On the Waterfront and see Brando's defeated shoulders as he walks away from a broken dream, We're watching more than scenes. We're watching truth. 2 stars, 2 paths, one unforgettable legacy.